This podcast is brought to you by AudioHook, the leading independent audio DSP. AudioHook has direct publisher integrations into all major podcast and streaming radio platforms, providing 40% more inventory than what could be accessed in omnichannel DSPs. What's more, AudioBook has full transcripts on more than 90% of all podcast inventory, enabling advanced contextual targeting and brand suitability. AudioHook is so confident that in addition to CPM buys, they offer the industry's only pay-for-performance option where brands can scale audio and podcasting with peace of mind knowing they are only paying for outcomes. Visit audiohook.com to learn more. That's audiohook.com. This week we have a recording that was done at the Marketecture Live conference in New York in March. This is a really interesting one. We have Alex Sherman, who's the CEO and founder of Bluefish, an AI SEO marketing platform, and he's in conversation with Erin Lanuti, who is the CIO of Omnicom PR, and they're talking about AI and how marketers and agencies can harness it to get more attention, more traffic, and to reach their customers. So hope you enjoyed that conversation.
Awesome. Well, thank you. As he mentioned, I'm the CEO of Bluefish. We are a marketing platform for AI. So the way to think about that is that our technology essentially helps the largest brands and agencies in the world gain visibility and influence over how AI describes their brand, their products, their services to consumers. Super excited to have a conversation about AI marketing, especially excited to be here with Erin Lanuti, one of our fantastic customers. She is the Chief Innovation Officer of Omnicom PR. She leads global innovation and all of OPRG's global AI initiatives. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So just to get started and kind of kick things off and sort of orient the audience, I know you, Erin, and Omnicom have been super early adopters of AI marketing and have moved relatively quickly to start to help your customers start to manage their presence in this new channel. Can you just talk a little bit about the why now and why there's sort of urgency for brands to start to manage the channel?
Sure. So for starters, happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody.
Woo!
With a name like Erin, I'm not wearing green, so I feel a little off. So I have to wish everyone a happy St. Patrick's Day. So why now? I think everyone has been watching over the last 18 months the changes in search behavior. And if you think about it, all of us are familiar with Google, right? And the Google search results that we get back. And that's really traditional search where a search algorithm analyzes the content and the sites. It then ranks it for authority and then determines what links it's going to give you that the user then clicks and goes to experience whatever that content is. Well, LLM search or AI search is very different from that. In this instance, the AI actually analyzes the content and the websites, and then uses that to understand the query. Then the LLM writes the actual narrative back to the consumer, and you have a conversation, right? So sometimes it's also called conversational AI. So very, very different experience. How many people in this room have tried conversational search or AI search, whatever you want to call it? Okay, so a lot of people so far. And have the results you've gotten back been accurate every time?
No hands.
0 hands. Right, and that's because LLMs hallucinate 20% of the time, right? So you have a 1 in 5 chance that the answer coming out of that LLM is inaccurate. So if you're a brand having an LLM write the results back about your product or service, you should be really concerned.
Yeah, totally. I think there's a lot of talk, and this happens every time there's a new marketing channel where everybody does this kind of like square peg round hole thing where they take the patterns of the past and they try to sort of force fit it into the new channel. And so it makes sense that marketers and brands would talk about this AI search as kind of like search 2.0. But the reality is, as Erin was saying, is that it functions completely differently, right? So like traditional SEO is about optimizing for a search algorithm, and the result of that optimization is basically a rank on a SERP, where there's sort of a clickable link, consumer can click through and end up on your website, where you as a brand, as a marketer, have the opportunity to tell your story. Well, AI functions very differently. The outcome is an actual response to the consumer that describes your product, that describes your service. And so you have to feed that in totally distinct ways. And so we've seen the emergence of kind of this new practice. So Erin, given sort of your early experience in the space, help us kind of anchor, like, how aware would you say are brands of both the rise of AI as a new channel and how it is actually portraying their products and services to consumers? Like, where would you say brands are?
So I would say brands are very aware of AI, right? But I don't think brands are aware of what a significant change AI search is for brands. And that's a real risk, right? Because brands right now, the vast majority of them don't understand, one, what are the LLMs saying about them, right? And I can tell you, the feedback from the LLMs, from let's say ChatGPT to Gemini to Perplexity, is very, very different. So you could have a brand that's a category leader, as we have done, where we've run the analysis, and they don't even rank, right? They don't even show up. Okay, or they show up incorrectly, right? We had one client where it actually said for a mid-size car rental, you could fit 15 pieces of luggage in the trunk. Well, that's not going to happen, right? So you've got real issues, whether it be from a product being portrayed, right? The efficacy of a product, how they're talking about your brand. These are real concerns. And you couple that with agentic AI, right, which is here, and things like OpenAI Operate, where if I tell OpenAI Operate to buy me a brown mascara, it's going to choose the brown mascara based on how that ranks in the results and what it thinks is good for me. Well, if I'm the category leader of brown mascara and I'm not chosen, again, that's a problem, right? So brands really need to start understanding this space.
Yeah, and I think the complexity goes sort of even deeper as well. And I think marketers are starting to realize that AI is super personalized. Like the response that you get from an AI provider is personalized to that individual, to their prompt, to their needs. And so, I might be a weekend warrior in New York that is searching for new running sneakers and get a totally different portrayal of Adidas or Nike than maybe a Gen Z user in California. And so from a marketing point of view, now you have this new level of fragmentation that you need to manage, both in terms of sort of what you're tracking, but what you're doing about it. So let's get into that. So let's sort of demystify kind of AI marketing. If I'm a brand and I want to get started, I see that consumers are using AI to find my products and services. I want to take action. I'm a CMO. I'm an agency that's supporting them. Like, what does getting started look like? Help us understand that.
So the first thing is you need to understand what the LLMs are saying about you, right? So you need to understand, are you visible? How do you rank? What is it saying about you from a favorability perspective? Is it positive or negative? Where do you compare to, let's say, your competitors, right? We know that the LLMs actually over-index on negative, which is a problem, right? So the first step is to really understand the lay of the land, right? And where are you? From there, it's about correcting misinformation or inaccuracies about your product or service. Obviously, that's huge. And then it's about understanding narratives that exist out there. You want to make sure that whatever is being said, one, is accurate, but you also want to ride the wave of the narratives. You want to understand the keywords and the messages that are being used, and then make sure that your content, whether it be on brand.com or on your PDPs, is getting optimized for those things. And I can tell you, With the big brands that we work with, we're finding some of the PDPs aren't even visible on Rufus, right? Again, that's a problem. Some of the content that's being written needs to be restructured, right? It doesn't like charts and graphics, right? So it has to be almost rewritten in almost a Q&A type format, so you're getting the right type of results. So those are some of the things that I think are really important for brands to be thinking about right now.
Yeah. This rise of AI monitoring and AI optimization, it's sort of incredible how quickly this space has evolved. Like when we started Bluefish in 2023, the primary users of AI tools, it was ChatGPT, it was Perplexity, super powerful technologies, but from a marketer's point of view, still relatively niche in 2023. And since then, I think we all know what happened. Obviously those platforms scaled up quite a bit, but also the rest of the internet became the AI internet, right? Like every big tech company essentially became an AI company. So Google launched AI overviews, Amazon launched Rufus, Microsoft launched Copilot, Meta AI, et cetera. And so in a very, very short period of time, these sort of early notions of AI monitoring and optimization all of a sudden transitioned from, hey, this is like nice to have, we should future-proof our marketing team, into something that was just totally essential. So let's click into that a little bit. So on the optimization piece, on the taking action side, how are brands starting to sort of work with agencies like yours around content marketing? What are the teams involved? What does that look like in practice?
So I think for starters, I would say it's a team sport, right? So it's different from search, and the response needs to be different. So we're finding that PR, search, commerce, and the content team all need to come together. So those teams need to be looking at the narratives that are out there, building a collective, cohesive strategy for how do you respond to it, which then feeds the content team. But again, the LLMs prioritize first and third-party content with an emphasis or an over-index on third-party content over first-party content, right? So it's things like making sure you're getting content out there from influencers or news outlets. Thought leadership is a big driver. And then, of course, obviously optimizing your brand content and your PDP pages. These are all the things. But again, it all needs to work together to have the best result.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. So we spend a lot of time kind of tracking AI responses to understand what are the key themes, what are the key topics, which sources are most influential. We all know that LLMs are trained on sort of the internet, and the internet is a collection of websites, but what does that actually mean? Which sources are most influential to these models and how they describe a brand? And it has been amazing to understand that split between first-party sources and third-party sources across all of the different types of prompts. Have there been any surprises that you've sort of come across with your customers? Anything that sort of emerged as oh my God, I can't believe this is happening?
So I think some of the biggest shocks to us are the sources that the LLMs are prioritizing to give the answers. There are sources that the LLMs are frequently citing that we had no knowledge of, frankly, until we started seeing them, rank super high. So it's very interesting to really lean into the sources that the LLMs are prioritizing, because they're not the traditional ones that you would think of. And again, that just comes with digging into the space, learning what's going on and what's being said.
Yeah, it is. It does end up being this team sport. Typically, when we start working with a brand or with an agency, there are a lot of search marketers in the room. They're kind of, fastest to see that the ground is shifting. We need to take action. But if you look at the sort of composition of who's in the room in those meetings, 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, all of a sudden you start seeing the brand marketing team, the content marketing team, analytics is there. The data teams are sort of wondering, what sort of infrastructure needs to exist here. And inevitably, they're reacting to this totally new environment where, oh my God, Reddit is the most influential source about our brand. These like micro influencers on YouTube, like that's what ChatGPT is learning from. And so they do have to kind of rethink, okay, what are our sort of internal workflows? Like when we're creating new content, whether it's on a website or PDPs or like whether it's our paid editorial team, there's this new sort of map that's emerging. And by the way, that map is changing all the time. Like, you know, AI is not pulling on some fixed database about your brand. It's coming up with a response in real time. And so the velocity of sort of marketing with AI marketing has changed quite a bit. And it's a good thing that, you know, AI is a good technology that you can use to do all of this. But certainly the pace has accelerated.
And let's talk about the metrics, right? Because the metrics are completely changing, right? So right now, brands, you know, look at what's the traffic to my website, what's the click-through rate, right? Those metrics all need to change because you're not having links to take you to brand.com, right? This is a conversation. So it's about, you know, your presence, your visibility, you know, how often is your brand.com basically being referenced by the AI. Like these are very, very different metrics. But at the same point, we've been in meetings where we've heard people say, well, I don't need brand.com anymore, right? Well, that's completely wrong. You absolutely need brand.com because that is what helps the AI and the LLMs understand how to answer queries, right? It is a major source of that information. It's just how we value that content, right? And the information there that's different, right? The measurement and the metrics that we use against it.
Yeah. So I know Omnicom is leaning really aggressively into this new sort of AI marketing space. Can you tell the audience and give us kind of a sneak peek around what you guys have in store? Are there any major initiatives we should know about?
Yeah, so we believe this is a huge space that marketers really need to jump in because not doing so is corporate and reputational risk, not to mention sales risk. So I am pleased to announce the creation of AI Optics. It is a new solution from OPRG that essentially has 4 components to it. It was built in partnership with Bluefish and other partners, and it allows us to do 4 things. So the first is to help brands get an AI audit, right? Understand what is your visibility, what is your share of voice, what is the sentiment, how do you rank against your competitors? The second is to correct misinformation about your product or service offering, which is huge. And then third is optimization. Again, going back to the team sport, right? We want to make sure that PR and commerce and your search team and your content team are all mining the information coming from the LLMs. There is really rich information that you can go into the LLMs to understand the narratives that are being out there, the keywords, the messages, the top sources that the LLMs are citing to give you that feedback, right? All of this information is hugely powerful to get to the 4th point, which is content creation, right? So making sure that there is first and third party content being consistently created, that your PDPs and brand.com are optimized for AI search, all really important. Right now, hopefully everyone's seen that Gartner is predicting that 25% of all search will shift to AI search by 2026. That is a pretty major shift. So all brands, we believe, need to be moving into this space quickly to protect their brands and their sales in this new world order.
Awesome. And so we have a QR code somewhere. Can we put that up? So if folks want to learn more about AI Optics, what do they need to do? How does this work?
Click the QR code, and we will get you more information on AI Optics. Thank you.
Amazing. So we have just a few minutes left. It's prediction time. So where does this go? What is the future of AI marketing? Industry is evolving super quickly. We're seeing lots of brands getting in on the action, trying to make sure that they're winning share, they're not losing rank, that they're visible, they're portrayed accurately, positively. What's next? Where do you think this industry goes in the next 12 months or so?
So I think that people are going to move really quickly into AI search because they have to, right? Brands obviously don't like to be blind to things, right? They like to control what's being said about them. They like to protect their sales, both of which means they need to move pretty briskly into AI search. So I think that will be a big trend. I also think with agentic rising, this is going to be much more of an imperative, probably very, very quickly.
Yeah, on the shopping front, it really does sort of feel like the calm, like before the storm. Obviously, Perplexity is here. They've had a very successful launch of their shopping product. But certainly you can imagine as the rest of these sort of consumer AI platforms rolls out their consumer shopping experiences entirely within the AI environment, you have this like paradigm shift, like organic marketing, paid marketing. It's all based on this kind of legacy notion of how consumers move through the funnel online. What happens when that's all within AI, when sort of a consumer moves from awareness to engagement to purchase within an AI conversation, and they don't crisscross the internet? I mean, that impacts the entire marketing stack. So we're going to see that happen really, really quickly.
Agree.
Well, cool. That's all the time that we had. So thank you, Erin, for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Marketecture Podcast. New episodes come out every Friday, and an insightful vendor interview is published each Monday. You can subscribe to our library of hundreds of executive interviews at marketecture.tv. You can also sign up for free for our weekly newsletter with my original strategic insights on the week's news at news.marketecture.tv. And if you're feeling social, we operate a vibrant Slack community that you can apply to join at adtechgod.com.